Hello everyone, welcome to Believers IAS Academy's educational video. In this video, we'll be looking at different posts in civil services. We know that in Indian civil services, there are about 24 different services, apart from the popular ones like IAS, IPS, IFS, or even Forest Service and IRS. We have other forces, other services that's provided that you might get posted into once you crack this exam. So we look at each one of them. Now, before that, we need to know that there are three major divisions when it comes to civil services. The first one is All India Civil Services. The second one is Group A Civil Service, and the third one is Group B Civil Services. Now, when it comes to All India Civil Services, you have to note that this is also a Group A Civil Service. Okay, this whole thing is Group A Service, and that is Group B Civil Services. Now, that difference is based on the grade pay. Now, All India Civil Services, you will get posted directly under the state government. IAS officer, you might be a district magistrate officer, but you are directly under the state government. But ultimately, you are under the central government. Alright, so it's a post, like you might get posted even in central services, like you might be a joint secretary, you might work in secretary, you might also be a district, administrating a district. Now, the same thing goes for IPS, for a service and Indian administrative service. You will be serving both central government and state government. Deputation can be there. Now, Group A Civil Services. Now, this will include all the other forces, other services like Indian Foreign Service, Audit and Accounting Service. There are different auditing and accounting service like the Defense Account Service or the Civil Account Service and so on. Alright, and we look at each one of them. Now, the next one is Group B Civil Services, like the civil services in Delhi, Andaman, Nicobar and other union territories, and even in Pondicherry, and also Armed Forces Headquarters Civil Services. The first, IAS. Now, this is the most popular one, right? Because even civil services coaching centers are named as IAS coaching centers, including ours. So that is the popularity of IAS. So as an Indian Administrative Service officer, you are going to deal with administrative charge of a district, area or department. You might also be involved with policy formulation, and also with policy implementation. So you are the person, you are the officer who are going to implement the policy. Once you are a district magistrate or at sub level you are an officer, you are the person who is going to implement the policies of the government. And once you are at a higher post like in joint secretary level and all, then you will be behind the policy formulation too. So initially, you might get posted as a subdivisional magistrate, and later on, you will get to become a district magistrate. This is a very reputed position. And then you could also be working with in state secretariat, or you might also be posted as heads of different departments, or even heads of public sector undertakings. All right. And the highest post that you can reach is that of cabinet secretary. The next one is IPS, Indian Police Service. Now, if you look at this picture, you might recognize this person as Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, of India presently, alright, of this government. Now, through him, I'm gonna explain the diversity of the civil services, like the kind of exposure that the civil services is going to provide you with. Now, the Ajit Doval joined the civil services as an IPS officer. Okay, he was dealing with civil police, and later on, he moved to IB. He was selected to IB. He went on deputation to IB. So IB is the internal intelligence agency of our country, and the external intelligence agency is RAW, that is Research and Analysis Wing. So he later worked with Research and Analysis Wing too. So you can see the kind of movement of this person from one front to another front. So he was involved with when there was a Mizo uprising, insurgency was happening in our country. He was involved with it. He was dealing with the intelligence at that time, and he has played a crucial role in our country dealing with that uprising. And also, when it came to Operation Blue Star 2, it is said that he was involved in the intelligence. The intelligence was provided by this person. So even when it came to our people, our citizens being stuck in different countries where conflicts were going on, he was the person who dealt with the talking, and he played a crucial role in getting our people back. So that is the kind of responsibility, that's the kind of exposure this service is going to provide you with. So coming back, IPS officer, IPS is service that's coming under Ministry of Home Affairs, and IPS officers are trained in different ways. Like they are going to train under counterterrorism, border policing. Now ATS, it's a post that deals with counterterrorism, anti-terrorist squad, and even NIA, National Investigation Agencies. So these posts are going to be headed by IPS officers. Now they also have the responsibility to maintain public peace and order, crime prevention, investigation, intelligence collection. All these things they are going to deal with. Even VIP security, railway policing, anti-smuggling and drug trafficking, tackling economic offences, that is against corruption. Now disaster management, and even protection of biodiversity and environmental conservation. Also, they are going to head forces like the CBI and CID. These are investigation forces, and then also intelligence agencies like RAW and IB. When Ajit Doval served as director of RAW for some time. Then leading and commanding the Indian federal law enforcement agencies, like they are going to be heads of different central armed police forces like CRPF, ITBP, CISF, BSF. All these forces head is going to be an IPS officer. And they're also going to serve as HODs in policy making, different ministries and departments of central and state governments. They're going to be HODs, they can be HODs, and then they can head different public sector undertakings too. Next is Indian Forest Service. Indian Forest Service is also equally challenging. You might have seen many news where forest officers are dealing with different mafias and all. It's also an equally dangerous job. But here you get to provide serve our country by protecting its forests, its biodiversity. You are dealing with environment conservation, protecting our tribal population. All these responsibilities lies with Indian Forest Officers. Now it's under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and the highest designation that as an officer, forest officer, that you can get with central government is Director General of Forest, and with state government it is Principal Chief Conservation of Forest, Conservator of Forest. Now, IFS officers also get an opportunity to work at numerous organizations like Food and Agriculture Organization. You can see there are deputation to different posts, different departments, different ministries. You can be deputed to. That goes same for all the services. All right. The next one is IFS. So when we say IFS, Indian Foreign Service, you are going to be a diplomat. Now, if you watch news and all, you will see in many international organizations like UN and all, we'll have a spokesperson for our country, right? So that person is most probably an IFS officer. So they are going to represent India in its embassies. So in many countries, we will have our country's embassies in order to deal with our citizens' better life. So different embassies, consulates are going to be there. In order to have a better relation with those countries, we'll have different embassies. So in those embassies, IFS officers will be posted. So once you join this service, you're going to get to travel a lot. You're going to visit different countries. You will get posted in different countries. And also, they will provide consular access to Indian and foreign nations. So this is what IFS officers does. Next is IRS. Now, Indian Revenue Service Officers. Now, if you are into some kind of default tax, if you are a tax defaulter, or you are a willful tax evader, or you are into black money kind of business, then the guy who's going to come and knock at your door, that's going to be an IRS officer. All right. Now, the policy formulation, they are dealing with policy formulation and changes of indirect taxes, and also they are going to levy and collect taxes. They are involved in levying and collection taxes, and they are also investigators and prosecutors. Alright, so they are going to keep a check on willful tax evading, and they are going to try to bring them to book, and collection of revenue is, they are going to check whether the collection of revenue is complete and regular. They are against black money. They are their primary objective is to curb black money. Alright. The next one is Indian Audit and Account Service. Now, if you want a more laid back kind of lifestyle, and you are not interested in the kind of media attention and all that the IAS and IPS officers are getting, this can be a sort out service for you. And here there is very less political intervention, because it comes under the Controller and Auditor General. So there's going to be very less political intervention. And what they are going to do, they are going to deal with the financial auditing of central government, state government, and public sector undertakings. All right. The next one is Indian Civil Account Service. It comes under the Union Ministry of Finance, and they are going to deal with development of process systems and forms related to government accounts of the Union of India and the states. They will prepare monthly and annual account statements, audits of revenue, deficit, and borrowing. And you might have learned in economy too, like the cash balance of the government of India and RBI. So monitoring this is also done by the Indian Civil Account Service officers. The next one is Indian Corporate Law Service. So they are the officers who are going to govern the corporate sector in India. So these officers will be highly trained in law and financing. All right. And they're going to administer the Companies Act, the LLP Act, and other similar acts which are brought into govern the corporate sector. And they will ensure that all companies are filing their annual returns and balance sheets and all other documents. This is going to be ensured by the Indian Corporate Law Service officers, and they come under Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Now, Indian Defence Account Service. So let's say you are a defense aspirant. Okay. Now you could not make it into the armed forces, maybe because of some, you didn't pass the physical physical test, or maybe your age bar is gone. Now this is your second chance. You're gonna get access to the defense perks, the perks and all that's provided by defense forces. So this is your second chance to get into the defense service. But you're not going to, be on the field and be a part of operations and all. But you will get access to defense perks. So the main objective of this category is to audit defense accounts, and they mainly serve organizations like the BRO, Border Roads Organization. So that's the organization which makes roads and other infrastructure projects in border areas, and even Defense Research Development and Organization, DRDO, and Ordnance Factories. Those organizations which are going to produce the kind of technology that our defense forces needs, the kind of ammunition and arms that the defense force requires. So their auditing and accounts, the account auditing is done by the Indian Defence Account Service, and they are headed by the Controller General of Defence Accounts, and they come under the Ministry of Defence. The next one is Indian Defence Estate Service. So this service is going to deal with, they're going to manage the cantonment areas and the other defense establishments. So the management of defense establishments are going to be taken care of Indian Defense Estate Service. And this will include the right kind of health sector, making sure that healthcare for all residents are provided, proper education facilities for the children, and also social care system of elderly, differently abled, and the underprivileged section of the society. All these things will be done by Indian Defence Estate Service, and they come under the Ministry of Defence. Next one is Indian Railway Account Service. Now, IRAS officers are responsible for maintaining and managing the finances and accounts of the Indian Railways. And when it comes to human resource management of the railways, the Indian Railway Personnel Service is going to deal with that. Both will come under the Ministry of Railways. And then the Indian Railway Traffic Service. Alright. So their responsibility is the revenue generation of Indian Railways. So they are going to deal with all the commercial wings of Indian Railways. So their operations and their management, everything will be done by Indian Railway Traffic Service, and they are going to act as a bridge between railways and public, and also railways and corporates. So they are the bridge between railways and public and railways and corporates. Alright. Next one is Indian Information Service. So these officers are going to, this service is going to deal with the management of all these government communication channels like the DD National, the Press Information Bureau, or the All India Radio. All these things will be managed by our IAS officers. Now they are responsible for managing the media wing of the Government of India. They are going to be the bridge between the government and public, and they come under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Next one is Indian Ordnance Factory Service. So the Ordnance Factory is where there are different ordnance factories in the country. They're the ones who provide the arms and ammunition that's required for defense forces or police forces. So the management of that, the responsibility of managing a large number of Indian ordnance factories which produces defense equipments, arms and ammunition, it's going to be dealt by Indian Ordnance Factories Service, and it comes under Ministry of Defense. Now, Indian Communication Finance Service. Now, this was previously known as Indian Post and Telecommunication Accounts and Finance Service, and they provide accounting and financial services to Indian Post and Telecommunication departments. And the next one is Indian Postal Service. Now, these officers are recruited as higher grade officers in India Post. The service is responsible for running the India Post. Now, many people will be wondering that the Indian Postal Services is outdated and it is not required much, but that is not the truth. Now, through Indian Post Service, what we are doing, we are getting services like banking, e-commerce services, disbursing all age pensions, which is very important. Then MGNRAG wages, all these many government policies are running through Indian Postal Services. So it is very important that we have trained officers who are managing these services. So this services is responsible for a diverse service offered by Indian Post. And so when we are talking about all these 24 services, it doesn't mean that it is in any way lesser than any other force. You are making changes in the lives of people here. So every force has its own importance. Every service has its own importance. Now, the Indian Trade Service, what do they deal with? They manage the international trade and commerce for the country. And this comes under Ministry of Commerce, and it's headed by Director General of Foreign Trade. Then the Railway Production Force. Okay, I think this is for those people who want to join the uniform service. Now, there are some people who just only want uniform service. So once you give IPS as your first option, the second option could be the Railway Production Force, right? Because it's a paramilitary force, and you are going to get everything here: the kind of training, the kind of access to arms and ammunitions. Everything is going to be here, and your duty is going to be to secure Indian Railway passengers and protect the property of assets of Indian Railways. Alright, the railway infrastructure, whatever the threat is, maybe it's a terrorist attack or any other kind of attack, the RPF is going to be the first responders, and they are highly trained. Now, the Group B service, Armed Forces Headquarters Service. So their objective is to provide basic support service to Indian Armed Forces and Indian service organizations. They come under Ministry of Defense. Alright, the next one is DAN ICS and DAN IPS. Now, this DAN ICS or DAN IPS, it means Delhi, Andaman Nicobar Islands, but it means Delhi, Andaman Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep, Daman and Diu, Dadra Nagar Haveli. So all these union territories are going to be included here. So the civil services for these Delhi and other union territories, not including Pondicherry. Okay. So for that, the initial post the civil services, what is required, so those officers will be taken through this cadre. So it's like a field service with the IAS, and the initial posting of officers is done through they are going to get posted as assistant collector, and then officers from this cadre are responsible for the administrative functions of Delhi and other union territories. All right. Next, the police force, same thing. Delhi and other union territories, like they are going to do with the civil police administration there. And the other force is Pondicherry Civil Service and Pondicherry Police Service. These are different two things. Okay. So these are the Group B services. So that's all about it. For more such videos, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also be a part of our Telegram channel. You can join our Telegram channel where you're going to get all the kind of materials that we post, kind of a material, blog articles, infographics, everything. You can also get the same from Facebook and Instagram if you follow us there. And do visit our website believersis.com, where you're going to get access to the kind of you will get to know the kind of course structure that we are providing, and you can contact us regarding any kind of guidance that you require. Thanks for watching the video.